Greetings, everyone. This video is for mothers and about mothers. If you are a good mother, you know you've been there for your children, pat yourself on the shoulder. But I'm going to say to you that a lot of us as mothers feel that we have to be the sacrificial lamb for our children. Or, in fact, we play this role where we give so much of ourselves in a hope that will be appreciated, and sometimes that goes, you feel unappreciated, you don't feel respect. But having said that, I'm also going to talk about some mothers who give zero to their children and take so much from their children, and yet they have this sense of entitlement. So I'm working with these two, dichotomy. On one hand, you being this awesome mom, you giving yourself and think that there is something to collect. There's a trophy, there's a award. Some of us are fortunate to have children that appreciate us. But even in the best of circumstances, if you are living your life for your children, I guarantee you at some point down the road, you are going to feel some type of resentment. You have to know when to give and when to hold back for yourself. Because at the end of the day, when your children are grown up, or even if they still live with you, they're going to prioritize themselves. As mothers, we tend to feel like we must make everyone else number one in our life. And in the meantime, we suffer. We we give and we don't hold back anything for ourselves. I'm going to talk about the mothers though. There are some horrible mothers. And thank goodness I don't have the power to decide who have children and who don't, because there are some women who, I look at them and they have no love or no ability to love even themselves, let alone their offspring. And these are the ones that, for some reason, can just look at a man fully dressed and they're pregnant. And there are women who would give so much, they have so much love in them to share with a child, and they go without. And some women don't know that, what, if you can't give birth to your own, you can adopt. I guess just the thought of not being able to bring forth your own child, can be very problematic for some women, and they don't want to, raise someone else's child or someone else's children. Listen, there are some women in this world. They're their children's own worst enemy. So I'm not referring to the women who give birth to their children and have done their all to raise these children and are at the point where they're saying, this is my time. I have had those moments where I had to say, no, okay, I need to save something for myself. This is my time to focus on my energy and what is best for me. But there are women who have always put themselves first. You see, there's a kind of thin line where there are women who just put themselves first. They never make any sacrifices for their children, and they have so much expectation. And of course, they are the ones who give so much and don't expect anything. We have to learn to know that there's a balance in giving and taking. And so, if you've been raised by a mother who was a narcissist or so involved in her own needs and her own desires to your detriment, and then she's making demands of you, then you have to learn to say no. You have to say no. And there are times when women have violated their own children. And, society says you're supposed to love these ones. I have seen and heard stories, not seen, but heard stories of women who lay in bed with their own daughter's husband. And you think, if this woman is not qualified to be described as a demon, I don't know who is. And yet you have people in the society telling these children, it's your mother. Excuse me, because a person is fertile and is able to get pregnant and give birth to a child, that does not make her a mother. that makes her egg donor. I have a woman that gave birth to me and she knows nothing about me. And if I were to see her this day, I probably wouldn't recognize her. Egg donor, okay? And I have no attachment to this person because I don't know her. And so there are people in the society who I think sometimes themselves are feeling angry that they don't have the courage to walk away from an abusive mother, walk away from a woman who have done more harm to them than good. If you are a child or the offspring of a woman who's never been there for you, who have done all kinds of things to destroy you, who, when you share your thoughts and your ideas and your dreams with these individuals, they have done nothing but to use their negativity or even go to the extent of doing things, spiritual things, to interrupt your dreams. And then the world expects you to love these ones. We can love in general. That's all a great and a wonderful thing. And if someone gave birth to you, you can choose to say, you know what, I'm not going to disrespect this person by saying anything to this person in a disrespectful way. For me, I'd rather stay away from these toxic people or individuals than go and say disrespectful things to somebody who gave birth to me. So even as an adult woman, you know, I would choose to refrain from having any disrespectful conversation with a person who gave birth to me. But that doesn't mean I'm going to sacrifice my all. As I would do for a stranger, I would perhaps do for this person. A lot of us need to be honest and to examine ourselves if we are parents and we're toxic parents, to acknowledge where we've gone wrong. And if that relationship is to be amended, we have to go to these children and ask them for their forgiveness. Search yourself, because some of us parents, and I'm going to say some of us parents do harm to our children too. As a mom talking to you, I have done harm to my children when I stayed in a toxic relationship. You know, I stayed in a marriage that was not good, and I thought I was doing it for the children, and I thought they were young, they wouldn't understand. And guess what? I was making one of the biggest mistakes of staying in that situation or underestimating things. Kids might not be able to verbalize what they feel or understand or see in your terrible relationship, but years later you're finding your children, they need therapy. Okay. And when you're going through it, with men, or you go from men to men and you bring these men into your relationship, and when it doesn't work out and you're hurt, you end up taking it out on your children. So we all, if we examine ourselves, can do better as moms. Some of us have sacrificed a lot for our children. I being one of those ones. My last child is 15 years old, and I made that choice to stay home and be with her, work from home, and be there for her because I wanted to be a better mother to her than I was to my older children. So although I was setting the good examples for them, there are times when I was absent and other people had to take care of them. And so I had to try to make up for it when they were older. They're older now, and I found myself stretching myself thin trying to make up for the earlier years when they had to be in daycare and then they had to be with the babysitter so I could pursue my dream, of getting an education. And nothing is wrong with it in of itself. But oh my goodness, there's a whole thing. Sometimes when I sit and talk to my children, it says, oh, you were so strict and you were this and that. We bring our fears to these situations. I don't want them to get hurt. I don't want them to make wrong decisions. And so I was very, very protective. And I can live with that. But I try to correct my errors or my mistakes with my last child. And I'm sure when she gets older, she might find things to say, oh, you were so strict, you were so protective, you're whatever, whatever. We have to recognize when we are mothers that we are not perfect, we're imperfect. But when we're adults, some of us, we want this loving relationship with a woman who is incapable of giving you that love. So while you can learn to forgive her, and forgiveness doesn't mean you're going to be around the person, there are times you just have to cut those persons off because they bring up the worst in you. And the very thing that you want from them, they're not capable of giving you. because they lack that too. Some of these women, these toxic women have been in toxic relationships with both their parents and, in their own personal relationship with other people, families, relate men, woman type of relationship and so on and so forth. But, people get offended when you speak the truth. I have heard some stories that you cannot believe a mother would do these things to her children, or a mother would allow her children to be subjected to these things and turn a blind eye. So I'm trying to tread the middle right here and recognize that there are these awesome moms who give so much to their children, and at the end they feel that their kids violated them in so many ways or neglected them in so many ways. This is why it's important for you to secure something for yourself and to make sure that you're starring in your own life and prioritizing your own needs so that you don't end up being resentful. And then, even the very children that you love, you end up abusing them verbally or spiritually or financially, wish other kind of emotional kind of ways that we can hurt our children because we ourselves are hurting. If the mother has never been there for you and constantly gets the opportunity to make it right and does more things to hurt you, it is no longer her problem, it becomes yours. It's okay to walk away from these toxic situations. It's okay to say no to people who don't love or value you, because if you don't love yourself, that will continue. You might get rid of your mother, but you might find yourself in a relationship with a friend or any other situation where the people continue to abuse you, take from you, leave you feeling empty or alone. So I'm going to encourage everyone who's a great mom to continue to look out for yourself now after you've raised your children and have given them the tool to go out there and fend for themselves. Now you can turn all that love into yourself, pour into you. And if you've lacked the love of a mother, I know that hurts. At this point in my life, I sometimes wish I had a mother that I could turn to, that I could share my sorrows or my joy, that I could spend quality time with. Those of you who have great moms that you bond with, that you have this deep relationship with, continue to, grow together and love each other. But also remember to pour love in you as a mother. All the love you have to give to your children, start to pour some of that on you. And don't let these women allow you to feel that you owe them your entire life, especially mothers who have never been there for you. For mothers who are there for their children, bless up yourself. But remember now, when they're grown and they have their own life, sometimes you're going through it alone and they won't be there for you. So love you, be kind to you, and release what no longer serves you. Don't hold on to the rage or the hurt or the anger. It is only going to destroy you. Stay blessed, everyone.